Hi, I'm Josie Scott, and these are my 5 things I wish people knew or understood about people with physical disabilities. Number 1, ableism is a very prominent part in our society, and unfortunately we all have ableist views, even people in the disability community. What's important to know about ableism is that you are able to confront these views and be very cognizant of these thoughts. When I was first injured and in the hospital, I was very ashamed of what had happened to me. I didn't want any pictures in my wheelchair. I didn't want my family to post or tell people that I was paralyzed. I thought that my body had failed me somehow in the accident, in that I was the only person that was injured. But I had to come to terms with that the accident wasn't my fault, and it was just how everything unfolded and happened that I was the only person who got hurt. It was just the path that my life was meant to take. So when I processed those thoughts, I had to confront my own internalized ableism to fully accept my disability. Number 2, disability doesn't mean no abilities. Since I was injured very close to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, I haven't really had a lot of experience out in the world. So my points for this next topic are drawn from the experience of my disabled friends. A lot of them have told stories about being out in public with a friend or companion, and they will be approached by an able-bodied stranger, and this stranger will either only talk to the able-bodied friend and completely ignore the disabled person as if they cannot speak or contribute to the conversation, or they will speak to the disabled person in a degrading way, like, "Oh, it's so nice to see that you're out today," as if somebody with a disability doesn't really get out much. It's important to remember that disability is a spectrum, so there are people with conditions that do not allow them to be independent. They rely a lot on outside care and they don't really get out much. But there are people on the opposite end of the spectrum who are very independent, are able to live relatively normal lives, and you should never assume that somebody is one or the other, and always ask them directly what their needs are. And if their caregiver needs to step in and facilitate, they definitely will. Number 3, limitations placed on people with physical disabilities are often placed on them by society and by the structure of our country, and not by their condition. While the Americans with Disabilities Act has done a lot of great things for access, especially in the public, it's not perfect, and it allows for buildings to remain inaccessible if they were built before a certain year. And for those buildings, there are a lot of historical buildings, and people with physical disabilities can't enjoy them because they can't get in. When I first became injured, I was trying to navigate the world and get used to being out in my wheelchair, and that was when I really understood how inaccessible things are. Like trying to navigate sidewalks that are very cracked and have a lot of potholes, or trying to get up a really steep ramp that is hard to push up, but it was built to code, so it's fine. Universal access and design is something we all can work towards and really try to improve in our communities. Coming back to my point, a lot of limitations, such as the misconception that we can't get out and enjoy society, is due to the fact that society isn't built for us. Number 4, not all physical limitations are visible. A lot of my ambulatory wheelchair user friends, or wheelchair users that can move their legs, sometimes they can stand, sometimes they can walk short distances, they are very frustrated with this misconception that physical limitations equal paralysis. This misconception leads to assumptions that if a wheelchair user can move their legs, they're faking their disability, when that's not true. There are many reasons why somebody might use a wheelchair. Paralysis, sometimes when people have conditions that when they walk it's very painful for them, so they use the wheelchair to relieve their pain. It's important not to assume that somebody's faking their disability, and if they're using a wheelchair, it's probably none of your business. Not all physical limitations are visible, and we need to confront our bias and misconceptions about that as well. Number 5, disability is not a bad word. Able-bodied people are uncomfortable with the word disability because we are afraid of being offensive and we would like to be politically correct, which is a good thing. But this leads to substitution of terms like differently abled, special needs, or handicapable. And the disability community finds these terms degrading and more offensive than if you just call us what we are, we're disabled. A lot of us have adopted our disability as part of our identity, just like I have curly hair and I am a cisgender woman, and we would really like it if you learn to use disability in everyday conversation, because once we as adults learn that disability is not a bad word, it's not taboo, it's not something to be afraid of, then that's something we can teach our kids, to not be scared of somebody with a physical disability and that they're just like you and me, they just have a different way of living their life. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you can think of any more things you wish people knew about people with physical disabilities, please leave them in the comments below. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them there as well.